Today, we're exploring the stories of 5 megachurch pastors whose personal indiscretions and affairs didn't just disrupt their own lives, they sent tremors through the foundations of trust, faith, and leadership itself. Let's begin with a name that became synonymous with both spiritual influence and controversy: Ted Haggard. For years, Haggard was the charismatic face of New Life Church in Colorado Springs, a congregation that grew to more than 14,000 members under his leadership. He wasn't just popular within his church, he was a national figure, advising political leaders and appearing on major news outlets. Haggard's sermons were passionate, and his message resonated with many seeking strong moral direction. But in 2006, the admiration that surrounded Haggard took a dramatic turn. A male escort named Mike Jones publicly accused Haggard of engaging in a years-long affair and using methamphetamine. The accusation seemed unthinkable for many in Haggard's flock.
He made national headlines as president of the National Association of Evangelicals. He had millions of followers. But in 2006, his career as a spiritual leader ended abruptly when it was revealed that he had had a sexual relationship with a male prostitute.
He had a relationship with me. We had gay sex.
You know Mike Jones?
No, I do not know Mike Jones.
At first, Haggard denied everything, calling the allegations completely false. But as evidence mounted, phone recordings, emails, and other details, the truth became harder to deny. The fallout was swift and devastating. Haggard was forced to resign as both the senior pastor of New Life Church and as president of the National Association of Evangelicals, a position that had given him national political influence. The church that had once been a beacon for so many suddenly found itself in crisis. Attendance plummeted, and the community, once united by faith, was now struggling with feelings of betrayal and confusion. Haggard eventually admitted to what he called sexual immorality, though he continued to deny the drug allegations. The episode left lasting scars, not just for Haggard, but for the thousands of congregants who had looked to him for guidance. It remains a powerful reminder of how even the most influential spiritual leaders can be brought down by personal failings, and how easily trust can be shattered. Next, we turn to another pastor whose name became a byword for scandal in the world of televangelism: Jimmy Swaggart. Swagert built an empire that reached millions through television broadcasts, crusades, and a vast ministry operation. His sermons were fiery, his calls for repentance uncompromising, and his condemnation of sin absolute. Swaggert's ministry received millions in donations, and his influence stretched across continents. But in 1988, the empire he had built on moral certainty collapsed almost overnight. Swagert was caught with a prostitute, an act that starkly contradicted the message he had preached for decades. The revelation was shocking, and the hypocrisy was stunning. Swagert, who had been so vocal about the moral failings of others, now found himself at the center of a scandal that threatened to undo everything he had built. In a moment that would become iconic, Swagert appeared on national television, weeping openly as he confessed his sin and pleaded for forgiveness. "I have sinned against you, my Lord," he said, his voice trembling with emotion.
"I have sinned against you, my Lord. And I would ask that your precious blood would wash and cleanse every stain until it is in the seas of God's forgetfulness."
The apology was public, raw, and for many, deeply moving. But despite his contrition, the damage to his ministry was irreversible. Donations dried up, attendance dropped, and the public's trust was badly eroded. Swaggert's attempts to return to preaching never fully restored his former stature. The stain of the scandal lingered, a permanent reminder of the gap between public persona and private behavior. For Swaggert's followers, the episode was a painful lesson in the dangers of placing leaders on pedestals and the risks of unchecked power and influence. The next story takes us to a different generation of church leadership, one that blended pop culture, celebrity, and faith in ways never seen before. Carl Lentz was the face of Hillsong Church in New York City, known not just for his dynamic sermons, but for his trend-setting style and high-profile friendships with celebrities like Justin Bieber. Under Lentz's leadership, Hillsong NYC exploded in popularity, drawing thousands of young urban worshipers who saw the church as both a spiritual home and a cultural phenomenon. Lentz's approach was different. He wore designer clothes, spoke in a relatable way, and seemed to embody a new modern version of Christianity. But in 2020, that carefully crafted image unraveled. News broke that Lentz had been unfaithful to his wife Laura, engaging in an affair that he later described as a moral failure. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Hillsong community. Lentz resigned from his position, and the church's reputation as a beacon of modern, inclusive Christianity took a major hit. For many of his followers, the news was heartbreaking. They had seen Lentz as a role model, someone who proved that faith could be both cool and deeply meaningful. His departure forced Hillsong to confront serious questions about accountability, leadership, and the dangers of celebrity culture within the church. Lentz's fall from grace was a stark reminder that charisma and popularity are no substitute for character and integrity. The scandal left Hillsong struggling to repair its image, and for many, it marked a turning point in how they viewed church leadership and the risks of idolizing any one individual. Eddie Long was the powerful pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Georgia, one of the largest African-American megachurches in the country. Long was a dynamic preacher with a strong presence, known for his prosperity gospel message, which emphasized financial blessings and personal success. His church had thousands of members, and he was a well-respected leader in the African-American community. However, Long's reputation was severely damaged in 2010 when several young men came forward with allegations that Long had coerced them into sexual relationships under the guise of mentoring. The accusations shocked the nation, especially given Long's public stance on morality and his condemnation of homosexuality. Despite Long's strong denials, the pressure continued to mount. The case was eventually settled out of court, but the damage was already done. Long's credibility as a leader was permanently damaged, and his once thriving ministry was left to pick up the pieces. Long continued to preach for a time after the scandal, but his influence and respect in the church community had been irreparably compromised. Finally, we have Bill Hybels, the founder of Willow Creek Community Church in Illinois, which, for many years, was one of the largest and most influential megachurches in the world. Hybels was known for his innovative approach to church leadership, and Willow Creek was seen as a model for contemporary churches worldwide. Hybels built an empire, attracting thousands of members and influencing pastors around the globe. However, in 2018, Hybels was accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women. The accusations ranged from inappropriate comments and actions to more serious allegations of abuse of power and sexual advances. The fallout from the accusations was swift, and Hybels resigned from his position as senior pastor of Willow Creek, though he continued to deny the allegations. The scandal was particularly damaging for Willow Creek, as the church had built its reputation on being a place of innovation, transparency, and integrity. The leadership of the church came under scrutiny, and many of its members left, disillusioned by the betrayal of their once-revered pastor. As we've seen, when leaders are idolized, they become vulnerable to the same temptations and failings as anyone else. These pastors, once revered, fell short of the perfection we expect from those we look up to. But the truth is, we should never place our hope in men. Only Jesus is the perfect example, and He is the only one who will never fail us. Men can falter, but Jesus is always our rock, our refuge, and our hope. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Which pastors or leaders would you like to see featured in a future video? I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more videos.